Today we're talking about African violets. I'm showing you all the African violets I have in my collection, including how I take care of them and get them to be in the condition that they are. But a twist to this video is I would like some help. I have a problem with some of my African violets that I'm hoping that some of you African violet experts out there can help me out with. Issues with some of my biggest African violets, for example, and what I need to do to get them from where they are now to the next level. This one here is the smallest African violet in my collection. It's been with me for a few, do I want to say years now? I'm not even sure. I think it has flowered for me before, but I love how this plant is growing. And you can see that there are distinctly two heads in this plant. There's this plant over here and there's this other one over here. It's going really, really well. You can see the leaves are looking pretty healthy, at least in my eyes anyway, and they're nice and firm and they look really, really clean. Now what's special about this plant is I'm actually growing it in leca clay bowls. I'm not using soil to grow my African violets. Those are the leca clay bowls in there, and you can see a little glimpse of those very, very fine roots of the African violet in that pot. I do keep it in this reservoir, and this reservoir has in there a nutrient solution which is primarily made up of a foliage focus. So this plant has constant access to water and nutrition from this reservoir, and I think that's one of the reasons why this plant is doing really, really well. When I was growing my African violets in potting mix or in soil, I used to have a lot of trouble trying to find a balance between overwatering and underwatering, and I found that growing this plant in semi-hydroponics, where it's got that reservoir all the time, has taken that issue away for me, and I now have a plant that's looking like this. Only issue I have is, what do I do with these two? I've got this head and this head, like I said to you before. Do I split this plant up or do I leave it alone? And I'll show you an example of a plant where I've left the plant alone and it's now giving me a lot of trouble, and I'm thinking, do I get ahead of that issue by sorting this plant out now when it's still small? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm really, really interested to know, because I just don't know what to do with this one. Right, let's go to the next one. This is one of my bigger African violets, and this one is in bloom. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous plant. Those little flowers are just so beautiful. They're white and you've got the little tinge of purple in there as well, just looking ever so magnificent. I love the leaves as well. The leaves are really, really big, very firm, good color to them, front and back as well. You can see that color looks really, really magnificent. I have this plant growing in a leca clay bowls as well. So you can see the leca clay bowls there. This leca is a little bit different. It's darker than the other leca that I showed you. It's what I like to call my Italian leca because it's made in Italy. I really, really like it. I love that dark contrast against the plant. Now you can see that this plant is just, look, when I move it, there's a lot of movement. I'm concerned about this. And I'm thinking that I probably need to plant it deeper. I don't know. I'm not an expert in African violets. I'm just really, learning as I go. But I think what's happening here is that as the African violet grows, some of the older leaves do get a bit, they're old. They get old and they die off. And as they die off, they leave that main stalk, that leave that empty, they leave it bare. And as a result, you've got that plant growing taller and taller, or longer and longer, depending on what you want to say. And then it gets a neck. It gets this gooseneck, as they call it, if it's going sideways. And this is the whole other thing about African violets and goosenecks. And I actually did a video a few months, maybe a year ago or something, about some of my African violets that actually had goosenecks and how I sorted that out. You can watch that video linked above. But this one, I think, is starting to get a gooseneck. Well, not so much a gooseneck, but it's starting to get unstable because it's got that neck that is not deeply planted in the medium, I think. So I'm thinking that my solution to this is actually planting it a bit deeper. So getting a bigger pot, a longer pot, planting the plant a little bit deeper so it has that stability. This is what I think. I don't know. Please let me know in the description below what you think. But yeah, this is what's happening with this particular African violet. I would really, really hate to lose it. Next up is this beauty over here. This is a plant that I got very, very recently, actually just a few months ago. This is one of my new ones I got at an orchid show. I really love this one, and it's not in flower at the moment. It's actually starting. There's a little bit down there, not too sure if you can see that, but there's a little bit of the beginnings of a flower, so it's doing really, really well. This is one of the plants that I did a different style of transition from soil to semi-hydroponics. So this plant isn't living in leca clay balls, it's living in a mineral blend. And mineral blends are great for plants like African violets that have got very, very fine roots. So it's a better and easier transition for them from soil to semi-hydroponics. And I actually did something a little bit different when transitioning this plant as well. So not just a change of medium, I also changed the method of transition. So I did not remove all the potting mix or the media. I removed some of it and then I just surrounded it with the mineral mix, and I just keep washing it as I go. When I need to flush, I wash the plant, and it's doing really, really well. So you can see there, it's in a wick setup. That's the wick there. And that is the reservoir over there. So in that is my nutrient solution that I mentioned earlier. And you can see, oh gosh, it's really, really tight, but you can see the beginnings of the roots that are coming through there. So, you know, this plant is telling me that it's transitioned really well from soil to semi-hydroponics, and it's really loving how it's growing. I mean, obviously it is loving how it's growing because it's about to flower for me. So definitely this was a successful transition. And at the moment, this is one of the African violets that actually is not giving me any trouble, no cause for concern. It's just there minding its own business, loving life. How beautiful does that look? I cannot wait for this one to get bigger. Next up is one of my bigger African violets. This is a big mama. Look at her. She is beautiful. She's got these pink blooms that are just to die for, just absolutely fabulous. This plant, oh my goodness, it's living in a 14-centimeter pot, if you can believe it. It's living in a very huge pot, leca clay balls as well, and you can see the teeny tiny roots there, and that is the nutrient solution that's dripping into my reservoir. This one is happy, honestly. I don't think I have any issues with this plant at the moment, but when I look at it from behind, I can actually see that it's also starting to stalk a little bit. It's actually bent over, and you know, it's, yeah, not necessarily the happiest bunny right now in terms of positioning, but I don't think I'm going to be doing anything with this particular plant right now. It seems happy enough. There's no major issues, and when I shake it, there's nothing happening with the structural integrity of this plant overall. So I am going to keep that in place, and yeah, that is doing really well. I love, love, love my African violet with a gorgeous pink. Oh, hang on. I just realized the pink blooms match with my pink shirt. Well, not quite. These are a bit of a darker pink, but I'm loving this plant and how it's going. And this is how I envision this plant to look in a few years. It's just going to be really massive, I think. So I'm really excited. This one is not an issue. All right, now let's go to my biggest African violet. Look at this plant. Have you ever seen an African violet this big? You probably have, because you're African violet experts, but I certainly haven't. And I'm really, really proud of the way this plant has grown. You can see that it's got these little blooms that are on the way. It's just so exciting. I'm so, so excited. This plant, if you can believe it, is living in this tiny, tiny pot in leca clay balls, of course. And you can see the teeny tiny roots there, just looking gorgeous. The problem I have with this plant, this is my most problematic African violet, and it's got to do with the fact that when you look at this plant, this is plant number 1, this is plant number 2, plant number 3, and plant number 4. Now, again, I will keep saying I don't have enough experience with African violets to know what I need to do at this point. What do I do? Do I just leave it? Do I separate these plants? What happens? And how does it go in terms of what's the future for this plant? How much more can it spread? I don't know. I'm concerned. How much of a bigger pot do I need? What will happen if I don't separate the plants? If you know, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you know an African violet expert who can tell me what I need to do, please let me know, because I love this plant. And you know, like I said before, see, this one's flowering. This one's flowering over there. This one's also got flower buds. It looks really, really good. And of course, it has that nutrient solution in there. And I have my African violets just living all over my house. They get some pretty decent light. I don't have any grow lights on my African violets. And yeah, I mean, I think that obviously they're quite loving what's going on. And I cannot stress enough how the fact that African violets love consistency with watering and nutrition just makes them prime candidates for growing in semi-hydroponics. And this is why I have had so much success growing African violets as far as I'm concerned. This one here is a plant I absolutely adore. It's one I recently acquired. I got this one at the same time as I got the other one that I bought at the orchid show. Now, what's special about this African violet is when I bought it, it was a sport African violet. There was one flower that was a little bit different from all the others. You can see it here. It looks so gorgeous. I had to have it. So this is her now, and she's flowered since I transitioned her from living in soil to living in semi-hydroponics. She's in flower right now. She's pretty happy. I have not seen that sport return in this cycle of flowering. I'm hoping it is going to return. So question, when you've got a flower like that happen on an African violet, I know it's not guaranteed, but you know, is it likely to happen again? I would really love to see that happen. And if I propagated this African violet, would the babies of this plant also give me a sport variety maybe? Or is it just truly luck? And you know, either it happens and it doesn't, or it doesn't, and nobody knows how or when or why. Yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'd really, really love to know, because I'm absolutely adoring this plant and I would love to make more of it, because as you know, propagating African violets is just the easiest. All I need to do is cut off one of the leaves of this, put it in a little tub of water, and bam, I'm gonna have another plant in no time. So if that's something that I can easily do and get myself another sport version, I would love to do that. Go and watch this next video that shows how I transition plants with a very fine roots like these African violets from soil to semi-hydroponics. I'll see you there.